by the edge of the river, they stopped to say their goodbyes. It took a very long time because thousands of monkeys wanted to shake John Dolittle's hand. Afterwards, as the doctor and his pets continued on alone, Polynesia the parrot warned, "We must tread softly and talk low as we go through the land of the Jolliginki. If the king hears us, he'll send his soldiers to catch us again. I'm sure he's still furious over the trick I played on him. What I'm wondering," said the doctor, "is where we're going to find another boat to go home in. Oh well, perhaps we'll find one just lying on the beach that nobody is using. Never lift your foot till you come to the stile, as they say." One day, while passing through a very thick part of the forest, Chi-Chi the monkey went ahead of them to look for coconuts. While he was away, the doctor and the other animals, who didn't know the jungle paths as well, got completely lost in the deep woods. They wandered around and around, but couldn't find their way back to the seashore. Chi-Chi, when he couldn't find them anywhere, was terribly upset. He scrambled up the tallest trees and looked out from the top branches, trying to spot the doctor's high hat. He waved and shouted. He called to all the animals by name. But it was no use. They seemed to have vanished entirely, and indeed they were very badly lost. They had strayed a long way from the path, and the jungle was so thick with bushes and creepers and vines that sometimes they could hardly move at all. The doctor had to take out his pocket knife and literally cut his way through. They stumbled into wet, boggy places. They got all tangled up in thick, convolvulus runners. They scratched themselves on thorns. And twice they nearly lost the precious medicine bag in the undergrowth. There seemed to be no end to their troubles, and nowhere could they find a path. At last, after blundering about like this for many days, their clothes torn and their faces covered with mud, they walked right into the king's back garden by mistake. The king's men came running up at once and caught them. But Polynesia flew into a tree in the garden without anyone seeing her and hid herself among the leaves. The doctor and the rest were taken before the king. "Ha ha!" cried the king. "So you are caught again. This time you shall not escape. Take them all back to prison and put double locks on the door. This white man shall scrub my kitchen floor for the rest of his life." So the doctor and his pets were led back to the prison and locked up. The doctor was told that in the morning he must begin scrubbing the kitchen floor. They were all very, very unhappy. "This is a great nuisance," said the doctor. "I really must get back to Puddleby. That poor sailor will think I've stolen his ship if I don't get home soon. I wonder if those hinges are loose." But the door was very strong and firmly locked. There seemed to be no chance of getting out. Then Gub-Gub the pig began to cry again. All this time Polynesia was still sitting in the tree in the palace garden. She was saying nothing and just blinking her eyes. Now, this was always a very bad sign with Polynesia. Whenever she said nothing and blinked her eyes, it meant that someone had been making trouble, and she was thinking up a way to put things right. People who made trouble for Polynesia or her friends were nearly always sorry for it afterwards. Presently, she spied Chi-Chi swinging through the trees, still desperately looking for the doctor. When Chi-Chi saw her, He came into her tree and asked her what had happened. "The doctor and all the animals have been caught by the king's men and locked up again," whispered Polynesia. "We lost our way in the jungle and blundered into the palace garden by mistake." "But couldn't you guide them?" asked Chi-Chi, and he began to scold the parrot for letting them get lost while he was away looking for coconuts. "It was all that stupid pig's fault," said Polynesia. "He would keep running off the path hunting for Junior Boots. I was kept so busy catching him and bringing him back that I turned left instead of right when we reached the swamp. Look, there's Prince Bumpo coming into the garden. He mustn't see us. Don't move, whatever you do." And there, sure enough, was Prince Bumpo, the king's son, opening the garden gate. He carried a book of fairy tales under his arm. He came strolling down the gravel walk, humming a sad song, until he reached a stone seat right under the tree where the parrot and the monkey were hiding. Then he lay down on the seat and began reading the fairy stories to himself. Chi-Chi and Polynesia watched him, keeping very quiet and still. After a while, the king's son laid the book down and sighed a long, weary sigh. "If I were only a white prince," he said, with a dreamy, faraway look in his eyes. Then the parrot, talking in a small, high voice like a little girl, said aloud, "Bumpo, someone might turn thee into a white prince, perchance." The king's son started up from the seat and looked all around. "What is this I hear?" he cried. "Methought the sweet music of a fairy's silver voice rang from yonder bower." "Strange, worthy prince," said Polynesia, keeping perfectly still so Bumpo couldn't see her, "thou sayest winged words of truth, for 'tis I Tripsitinka, the queen of the fairies, that speak to thee. I am hiding in a rosebud." "Oh, tell me, fairy queen," cried Bumpo, clasping his hands in joy, "who is it can turn me white?" "In thy father's prison," said the parrot, "there lies a famous wizard, John Dolittle by name. Many things he knows of medicine and magic, and mighty deeds has he performed. Yet thy kingly father leaves him languishing long and lingering hours. Go to him, brave Bumpo, secretly, when the sun has set, and behold, thou shalt be made the whitest prince that ever won fair lady. I have said enough. I must now go back to fairyland." "Farewell, farewell," cried the prince. "A thousand thanks, good Tripsitit." And he sat down on the seat again with a huge smile on his face, waiting for the sun to set. What will happen next? Will the prince free the doctor? Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next part of the story. Thanks for listening.